And on the main stage, I will call now Poland with Tomasz Kosz. Please, Tomasz.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you, Chris.
Hello, Tomasz. I will leave you on the stage, Tomasz.
Yes. Welcome, everyone, to this session conducted from Poland. I'm head of the Polish Lean Institute and have a pleasure to introduce to you my colleague, Małgorzata Jakubik. Gosia is a partner at the Polish Lean Institute, where she has been working as a coach for more than a dozen years. She works with clients from various industries. Gosia is particularly passionate about building learning organizations and developing internal competencies in companies. Before joining the Polish Lean Institute, she worked for General Motors in Europe for over 12 years as a Lean System Manager. Gosia will share lessons from several Polish cases from many industries on the topic how to effectively transfer skills to your organization. Gosia, the stage is yours.
Hello and welcome from Poland on this beautiful rainy November evening. I am particularly thrilled to be speaking to you guys, the Global Lean community today, and especially, as my host has said, on the subject that is particularly close to my heart, and it's about learning organization. It's about building competence system in the organization, and also we will be talking about some learnings that we have gathered over the years about what could help us in the train-the-trainer process and what could be a hindrance in this process. I do go by the name of Gosia in the international community, so you don't have to break your tongue trying to say Małgorzata. And I have been around this process of transfer of skills for years. Firstly, as a user and as a coordinator of the process in the company I worked for, and now with a lot of our customer organizations that try to get into the lean environment, trying to transform themselves into a true lean organizations. So we will be talking about that. But before I go into specifics, I would like to start with a classic. If I was given some money for every time that my customer or organization I work with tells me that their learning system is good enough, I would have been a very rich person by now. I definitely have to start with this one, because it's the first hurdle that we usually have to get through before we can even think about shaping the internal competence system and real knowledge transfer. Creating a learning platform, learning system, or competence building system in a company is usually something decision makers are thinking as an add-on, something that will support other activities. So when they consider their system good enough, it's very difficult at times to convince them that good enough is not enough for a vibrant lean environment that would bring desired results, and that to make a good lean plant or to make a great effective lean organization, this element of training and knowledge transfer is actually a key element that we need to be very focused on, and we need to develop very, very cautiously, and not just to a level of good enough, but rather to a level that would be truly effective and spectacular. We will be looking into our learnings that are coming from a wide variety of different industries. We have been doing train-the-trainer processes in a lot of industries and also in areas outside of industry. But for the sake of this presentation, I will be focusing on particular 4 examples, and a lot of the learnings that you will see will be based on specific cases and phases and events that have happened while we were working with these particular 4 companies. And these particular 4 companies have come from 3 industries. We worked with 2 quite big automotive customers, big plants, corporate environment. We worked also with one of the bigger home appliances plant. And as a contrast, we also worked with a much smaller packaging industry company. And these were the examples where our train-the-trainer activities were probably the strongest in a few years from now. Just looking at what companies I'm going to talk about, it's actually interesting that to have this commitment for knowledge transfer and for real investment in the building of internal competence, you probably look at a bigger organization. It's usually more difficult to convince a smaller organization that they need a truly well-developed internal competence system. I would here say it doesn't matter. No matter what your scale, no matter where you are in any industry, you would probably benefit, you would definitely benefit from having a thought and having an action into developing your internal expertise. Methods may be different. You might be picking different subjects, you might be picking different people to be trained as trainers and share the tasks differently. But I would say no matter how big you are, you probably need to be thinking, I would like to develop internal competence and be a learning engine that would make my organization better in the years to come. But let's take a look into what these 4 examples have taught us. I have to start from the givens. They might be very obvious, but these could be some ideas that you might want to discuss if somebody is in doubt, if they are ready to start learning organization and build internal competence rather than continue buying it externally. First of all, the first given is actually that we need to focus on true understanding that we're building sustainable competence, that we're not just organizing a workshop here, a workshop there, fixing some local problem, just to be happy to have fixed something, a single problem or a series of problems. What we will be focusing on in the train-the-trainer internal competence system is actually sustainability. It's actually having something that will not stop with the plant manager going or an HR manager being sent somewhere else to a different location. We want something that will be sustainable. A second given is that, yes, we have to commit resources. Having a good internal competence system will give you enormous results, will actually be a foundation of any savings and business impact, performance impact that you are thinking about. But it is an investment. And initially, you will have to be prepared to get people off the core jobs for some time, to get some facilities that you might need, and also, which I'm mentioning here under given number 2, the process will have to have an owner. It will not run by itself. It has to have somebody who will feel responsible for pulling it all together. Number 3 is really a cliche and something we all keep talking about, that to have something lasting and to have something as a success, we definitely need leadership to show enthusiasm and commitment. But I want to say that to emphasize that in the area of people skills, in the area of development of people competence, this leadership impact is double as important as it might be in other areas. What do we mean by this leadership, enthusiasm, and commitment? Sometimes we mean little things like not talking down to people who are trainers, appreciating that they're doing this job, not cutting down the time for already agreed training, showing up where there is some success. And that's all we basically mean. And the last given, also very important, we need passion. Again, it's a people process, so passion will take you a long way. And by this, I mean passion all across the company. In the knowledge transfer, we probably need passionate people down at the operator level, and there will be training on the job skills or team leader level, all the way through managers to the top of the organization. The more passion you actually have for this process, the more success you are probably going to expect. So we have the givens. We also have some necessary inputs for our train-the-trainer process. I'm assuming we have some long-term strategy for the organization itself. I'm assuming we have management commitment. And I'm assuming we have decided who takes ownership of the whole process. Now let's go through the key learnings that we can take out of the process. And I will be focusing on 3 areas of the learning: defining the purpose, talking about the people, my favorite ones, and there will be some on the process itself. Defining the purpose, the key ones are to have a long-term learning strategy. I did mention that we will be relaying to long-term strategy of the company itself, but based on that, we also need a long-term learning strategy. And of course, I know that we are living in the very unstable times and things can change any minute, any day, but training is actually training, planning, knowledge transfer is actually very much a long-term planning initiative. If you're running like a headless chicken, organizing learning and knowledge transfer, you're probably not doing it right. So, of course, we will react to changes. We will be flexible in what's going on and how we plan monthly events, half-year events, but we definitely need a long-term learning strategy structure. And by a long-term, I probably think about something in terms of 3 years ahead. What will you do next year? What will you do in 2 years' time? And looking ahead in 3 years' time, what is your pick for the key learning opportunities that you think you might have. Of course, making internal competence part of the strategy is something that we need to decide on so we can have a clear purpose why we're training the trainers. I want to give you a bit of a tool, a bit of an advice on what tool can help you with deciding what is actually your ideal state of level of knowledge and skills for your organization. And this is number 3 here. Creating a list of knowledge and skill requirements for people in your organization. What do I mean by that? I mean something like the picture I'm showing on the slide. Something quite simple but quite powerful while once you have thought it through and you have developed it. I mean your knowledge and skill levels that you would like your people in your company to have matched with the levels of the people in your company, like team member, team leader, group leader, and so on in this example. And then you just pretty much decide how much of each of the knowledge or skill you want each person in the group to have. And that creates your ideal vision where you want to have people at. Then everything becomes easy. You look at where you are and you can plan your long-term learning strategy based on this tool. It's difficult to make at first, but once you have it, and you only need to update to the changes, it's probably one of the easiest tools to help you with long-term planning. Now for a bit of a local folklore, the similar example in Polish, an actual example from one of the companies I was speaking about. This is a smaller company, so it's a bit simpler. They pretty much listed not only the lean trainings, but other skills and subjects. And the legend is very comprehensive. O stands for obligatory to start working in a group. T stands for you need to have it while you're working at the given level, and W stands for personal development, something that you might need, but not necessarily, depending on where your job is taking you. As I said, this is definitely a tool to help you decide what is the level of group development and group skill transfer you would need, and will definitely help you decide on where you need to train your internal trainers. Now to my favorite one, defining people. And by that, I mean be very clear who your internal trainers are going to be and what is their role in the organization. Of course, I have my favorite answers to these questions. If it was entirely up to me, I would say internal trainers should be pretty much in all levels of supervision in any company. It should be part of the leader's job, no matter where the person is in the organization. So we would have a role of internal trainer at the team leader level, at the group leader level, at the manager level, and at the very top of the organization. Of course, the difference would be in what they train and in what capacity, in what methods, but having training capacity as part of the role of any leader would be my dream answer to this question. Of course, you can have other answers. It's important to have an answer, to be able to say, where do I find my internal trainers? Are they within the operational personnel? And it will be the function that they will fulfill sometimes. Or will I build a specific group? Will I have it as a skill for the Kaizen group, maybe, that I will add on? There are multitudes of answers. The important thing, you need to be sure how they function and where they are positioned in the organization. Who am I looking for? Of course, I'm looking for people with good people skills, communication skills, and of course, particularly good knowledge of the process or the tool that they will be training. That's pretty obvious. But I'm also looking for people who really want to get involved in the training, who will be able to give the heart to it. And important thing that I put specifically on a separate slide, I want the best that I can get for the trainer group. And to get the best I can get for the trainer group, I will have to invest in making this job, function, task, whatever you want to define it, however you want to define it, feeling a bit special, so that whoever gets into this group does not feel like somebody who's the last man standing and that just was caught for this job, but feels like somebody who got something that was good, that is a developmental role, and that can make you grow and be a real asset to your company. I will never forget one of the darkest days in my training career, where I was working with an internal trainer group, and I was really making them feel important, really mentoring and coaching them to feel well in the role. And then we had a meeting with the plant manager, which I was very much hoping would be a boost for the trainer identity. And the first thing the person said was, you know that we picked you because you had the least jobs and the least burden of other duties to take, which made my group feel very bad. From the heroes that I was shaping them for, they were immediately thrown down to the, we picked you because you had nothing to do. This is something we need to be very watchful. That would never happen in your train-the-trainer processes. So make them feel good, build the team out of them, and make sure they have enough support. Going through that, let's look at the process. This is probably the most technical part of the whole bit, but still very important. We need to train our trainers both in selected skill and in a training methodology, and we want to train them well. We want to make them feel good and confident in the role. We want to provide support in training aids and administration. Depending on the role, some of the trainer people will just do training, some of them will develop training materials, training aids, will watch over training areas, lines, equipment. So it all depends how you define the role, but whatever you do, they need to feel supported in the role. And as with all the processes, we also need to build some continuous improvement into the process of internal competence building. So we will definitely need to monitor the development of our trainers, have a check phase. So there is something happening with somebody coming and looking into how well they're training, and it can be a peer review or it can be a supervisor review. Whatever it means, it needs to happen. And one of the best tools that we all know, but maybe not for the trainer process, and this is what I'm going to suggest now, is to use the well-known skill matrix for planning the development, for inventory of where the trainer's abilities and capabilities are, and also for monitoring and planning the progress. This is the actual example again, and it looks very much like the skill matrices that you are used to, with numbers here, with names here, and the subjects of knowledge and skill areas at the top. The only thing different is how we look at the legends in the skill matrix, because here we talk about at 1 quarter observed the training, in 2 quarters co-trained, so is able to do part of the learning, part of the whatever subject we're talking about. With 3 quarters, like with a general skill matrix, we have an independent person who can train by himself or herself. With 4 quadrants, we have an expert who is able to modify the content and can train others. And we also reserve some additional symbols for content owner who can improve changes. And we also have some colors for where people are in the training abilities. Your training matrix could look different, but do use it, because it actually gives you, especially in the process when you have a lot of trainers, it gives you a sense of staying on top of the process and really knowing where your gaps and development needs are. Finishing this walk through train the trainer process, I am going to leave you with this important message. I firmly believe that creating vibrant, dynamic knowledge transfer processes with a strong trainer and strong support for people who are in the training process is absolutely a key step in the success of the lean transformation that will enable the impact on culture, and it will enable the impact on business results and performance. It might sound that good enough is enough, but it never is. So if you're going into knowledge transfer process, don't cut corners with it. Try to make it a great process with great people involvement and great monitoring checks, a great PDCA basically. Thank you very much.
Actually, I had 2 questions prepared, but I'm afraid we need to finish anyway, because there is just 1 minute to go to the next level. I just looked at the comments that some of the participants to your session just wrote, and they wrote about TWI, Toyota Kata, facilitation skills, etc. And I know that you are using personally, and you have expertise in those subjects. So you certainly confirm that this is important set of competences, yes, and skills.
Okay, I answer in 1 sentence, promise. Yes, I was focusing on the process itself. As for knowledge subjects and knowledge areas, train the trainer that I was talking about would be about anything. Toyota Kata, TWI, 5S, TPM, whatever you can think about. It's just the same approach that I was talking about.
Perfect. Tomasz, Gosia, nice to see you guys. Thank you for sharing.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.